everyone, and welcome to this little day in the life vlog. So I'm just going to be talking through what I do as a trainee clinical psychologist on placement in a secondary community mental health team. So I'm just about to log on to work. Today I'm working from home. It's actually my second to last week on this placement, and so I thought it would be a really good idea for me to like vlog it and just share some of my reflections and also kind of like what I do day to day. So I obviously can't go into too much depth because of confidentiality and things like that, but what I am going to try and do is give kind of like examples that are similar to what I do at work, none of them related to any of the clients that I actually work with at the moment, just that you guys can get a better idea as to actually what I get up to every single day. So let's get going. Now, the first thing that I do before I start my work is basically my emails and do any of the admin tasks. So these admin tasks might be me writing my to-do list, me checking my calendar, me replying to emails, and that usually takes up normally the first 30 minutes of my day. I kind of like to ease myself in just that I can kind of get into my working brain, and then also to kind of prep what I need to get ready for the day, and it also helps me to like prioritize my time. Now that I've finished up with all of my kind of morning admin, I've now got a zoning or MDT meeting. So with this team in particular, we have MDT meetings like most services, where we kind of discuss the different clients that we're working with, but this specific meeting is mainly focused around risk, due to the kind of clients that we see. So we zone people into red, amber and green depending on their level of risk this week, and this is just so that everyone is aware on the team, so psychiatrists, support workers, nurses are all involved, just that we can manage that risk together. And that's what I really like about MDT working actually, is that we do split that responsibility. You know, when I first started in the service, it was really difficult for me to sit in these meetings because it is a lot of kind of hard-hitting stuff, and it's quite, I guess, what you would call severe mental health difficulties, where people are making attempts to end their lives or, you know, self-harming quite significantly, and that's something that we have to manage as a team. So that's what this meeting is about. We tend to focus on the clients that hold that risk, but we do feedback on any changes to someone's kind of presentation or any significant things that might have come up in our work with them. So an example of this may be if someone is deciding that they don't want to engage in therapy anymore, or if something has happened in their life circumstance which may mean that their risk might be heightened over the next few weeks. So really we're working on a holistic level, so that's what I'm going to go into now. We also do psychology referrals actually at the end of this meeting, so this will depend on what service you're in. I know it even depends on like the area that you're working in. I'm going to present something on screen now which will show you the kinds of questions that we ask as psychology when people are being referred for psychological support. So have a look on the screen now for some of the questions that we look out for and some of the things that we cover during this process of referrals. So yeah, I'm going to head into that now and I will catch up with you guys in a bit. I've just come out of the MDT meeting. I had to feedback on some clients that I'm finishing up with because it's my second to last week in this service. It feels so weird to say, it's gone so quickly. But yeah, in terms of feeding back about that, I kind of just give a little update in terms of whether the person is going to be discharged or whether they're going to be taken on by a different clinician after I leave. I talk about their engagement, any risks that have been identified, and just a general handover so that it's minuted, so that people, you know, so I've done my kind of due diligence with that person if there are any risks, and also just letting the team know like where this person is going next and who's going to be taking over their care. So that was kind of like my role, I guess, in today's meeting. I also kind of helped think about some of the referrals along with the qualified clinical psychologist who sits in the meeting today. So now I'm about to prepare for my final session with one of my clients, and this is so just, it feels really sad. In terms of how I prepare for sessions, I normally read through the notes from the last session. I make sure to write down any pieces of homework or in between session tasks that I've given the person so that I can check in, because I just think it would be so annoying if I set someone something to do between sessions and I just don't check in on it. But this session is a bit different because it is the final session, so what I'm going to do is go through kind of the problems that they came to therapy for, their goals for therapy, the way we made sense of the problem, so going through their formulation and kind of drawing it out again together, and then linking the skills that we learned or the topics that we discussed to the formulation, and then thinking about wrapping things up and how they've progressed, spending some time to reflect, also completing outcome measures, and then we kind of just solidify the plan going forward so that they're clear on what's happening next and so that I'm clear on what's happening next, making sure that all their needs are covered. So that's how I prepare. I'm just going to quickly do that now, and then I'm going to head into the session. So I'm just having my lunch now. I'm watching some YouTube, watching some good old Grackle. One thing that I love to do in my break while working from home is to just really have a proper rest. Milo's at daycare today, but if he was with me then I would take him out for a little walk. But yeah, so this lunchtime is literally just all for me to like wind down and relax. And I find it so funny because there are days where lunch is kind of, I have to have it during meetings, and you guys always tell me off on Instagram, but I promise I do have my lunch most days. I normally take half an hour just to really switch off and have a break from work, because the stuff we do is intense. So I'm going to enjoy my food, enjoy my YouTube video, and then I'm going to crack on with some more work. I feel like these vlogs get really repetitive for you all to watch, so I'm literally just at my desk all day. But I'm just finishing up, I've just finished up my lunch. The final session went really well actually, and I'm just really kind of happy with how we tied things up. And now I'm going to get ready for my next session. This is a carer support session. So this is a support session for someone who is supporting their relative with a diagnosis of psychosis. So I'm going to prepare the slides. This was meant to be run as a group, but because we didn't have enough uptake, we've had to move it to kind of one-to-one sessions. And so yeah, I'm just going to go through the slides so that I'm aware of what we're covering today, and then head into the session. This one is pretty straightforward, I guess, because we've got all the content ready, but we'll see what the client brings into the session and go from there. Right, so I've got my coffee and now I'm preparing for my pre-placement meeting for my new placement. I haven't actually, I think, told anyone on Instagram or anything where I'm going, so drum roll. I'm going to inpatient older adult, woo! I knew that I was going to be going to an older adult placement. That's just how things work on the doctorate, at Essex anyway. So first year you're doing your working age adults and older adult placements. So I knew that was going to be the case. Didn't know where I was going to go. I didn't know whether it was going to be community or inpatient. I'm really happy it's inpatient. I've looked at kind of how I prepared for my last pre-placement meeting. So I like to ask kind of what models they tend to use, so whether it's like CBT, systemic, narrative, ACT, whatever it is, just that I can get to grips with some of those models and read up on them. I also like to ask like what a typical week will look like for me, whether I'm going to be face-to-face or online. I also like to think about, you know, especially while working in an inpatient ward, I think it's really important to think about kind of the residual effects of the pandemic, because, you know, COVID is still here, but I think there are these residual impacts that sometimes when you come into a service now, you might forget about how things have changed because of the pandemic. I'm thinking about, you know, the context of staff and how maybe the pandemic impacted them, thinking about how it maybe changed their service they provided or their workload, things like that. And then I guess I was also curious to know about like whether I'd be supporting staff at all, and then also thinking about typical presentations that I might see in this service. And then I also like to reflect on like what I want to get out of the placement, because we have loads of forms to fill out for our placement, but one of the forms that we fill out right at the beginning is all to do with like our placement objectives, so like what we want to get out of it and how that placement will meet those needs and kind of the expectations for the placement on us, but also thinking about what expectations the placement itself has for us as trainees. And so I guess it's quite good to think, well, I think it's quite good to think about it in this pre-placement meeting anyway. This pre-placement meeting is also a chance for me to get to know my new supervisor. I'm really, really looking forward to this placement because neuropsych and older adults is kind of like what I think my passion is. It's really difficult because since working in community adult mental health, like, I've really enjoyed it. And it's been very different in terms of kind of how you engage with people, managing risk, and just the environment I feel like I really do thrive in. So I'm excited to go back to older adult and neuropsych and kind of compare my experiences to that and see whether my passion still remains. It's really exciting but also quite unsettling, I guess, thinking about how for the longest time I always thought I'd work in older adults or learning disability or neuropsych, and since coming out of community mental health with working age adults, I'm like, oh, that seems really interesting too. So we'll see how this new placement shifts my preferences in terms of that. Later on today I do need to get on with some of my letters, in some of my summary letters that we write when we finish therapy with an individual or finish any work with an individual, because I've got 4 letters to write for 4 different clients and I've got just over 4 days left of placement. That's not a lot of time to do all of that stuff, as well as all the other admin that I need to do. So I'm going to continue thinking about what other questions I might have to ask in this meeting, and then if I have some time I might start doing some of my notes and some of my letters. Woo! What I might do is put on the screen now like how I've been writing my notes in this service. Again, all of this information that you'll see on the screen is completely made up, essentially. I'll just show you how I structure my notes because I think that might be quite helpful for some of you guys. I'm also really, really excited to go on leave. Like, it only really hit me today that I'm going to be going to the Philippines really soon, and I am genuinely like so excited. And I haven't had a big chunk of annual leave since starting the course, really. I think the max I've had is like 4 days over Christmas, and Christmas is such a chaotic time, so I'm really, really excited to like go away for almost 2 weeks and just chill and see my family and eat good food. Oh, I'm so excited. So I've finished with my pre-placement meeting and it was really nice to chat to my new supervisor. I'm really excited to go back into older adult mental health and neuropsych, basically. I feel like I'm going home in a way, because that's where all of my experience is. And I'm just very excited for this new chapter. Obviously very nervous, but I do like how on training we do get kind of chucked around to different places because it just keeps things interesting, to be honest. Now I'm going to carry on with some of my summary letters. So these are basically like discharge letters. So with my summary letters, I usually begin with speaking about what they came to therapy for. Then I think about the goals that they set for therapy. Then we go into the formulation, and then we link the formulation to the coping strategies that we try together, and I kind of give some context as to why we tried those specific strategies and their progress with that. So like thinking about whether some strategies worked better for them, if they preferred some. And then I talk about the progress that they've made towards their goals and any difficulties that they may have faced during therapy. I also take time to comment on the way that they engaged in therapy and whether there might have been like any difficulties at some points and how we made sense of those difficulties. And then I speak about the ending. So the ending is basically just saying like what the plan is for the future, and yeah, basically whether they're going to be referred into a different service, discharged, or whether they're going to be taken on by a different clinician. So all in all, it's very similar to how I would structure the final few sessions that I have with a client, and I guess doing that, it allows us to discuss the letter just in case any questions come up, or maybe I've like misunderstood something. So I think it's kind of a nice way to collaboratively work on this letter in a way, by introducing it into the final sessions, just through our conversations. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do now, and then I'm going to wrap things up and then go pick up Milo. But don't worry guys, the video doesn't finish here. When we come back, I'm going to show you what an evening looks like as a trainee clinical psychologist. As I think I mentioned at the beginning of this video, this is a very busy period of time for me because I am going on annual leave next week, and then I've got a week back on work, and then I'm going away for 2 weeks. And so I do want to try and get like all my assignments done this week. I don't know if it's going to be possible. So I've got my final thesis proposal, I've got my thesis presentation, and I've got my placement forms and stuff. I'm sure I'm forgetting something else. I can't even remember, but those are the things that I need to do, well, want to do before I go on leave. So my evenings are quite busy, but don't worry, because not all weeks are like this. Like for the past 2 weeks, I haven't done any work in the evenings. So the busyness of training definitely comes and goes, and this is definitely a busier week. Right, so I have just got home from picking up Milo, and I've got an alert saying that I've received some feedback on my small scale research project proposal. So I'm going to have a look at that feedback now, because I'm really curious as to what I actually, what they think of my proposal. So the small scale, do you want to come and say hi? Come on. Or do you want a snack? Milo wants his snack. Come on then. Hello. This is the fun part about the doctorate. So obviously I finished with my placement stuff today, because it's now gone 5. But now it's time for like my uni work. And so part of that is looking at the feedback that I've gotten and then working on the final versions of it. So I don't know when my final SRP one is due in, so that'll be interesting to figure out. So yeah, the proposal needs some development, which is what I expected. Should proceed with the next steps in the discussion. I'm guessing it's just go ahead, but I've got comments, so that's fine. I haven't failed it. So with the doctorate, someone asked me whether there's like different grades, and with all of our assignments, well, not with all of them, some of them aren't even graded, so this one wasn't graded, but with the ones that are graded, it's always pass or fail. So it's pretty straightforward, and I always like to remind myself that they want you to pass, they don't want you to fail. So yeah, right, now I'm going to jump in the shower, get my food ready, and then we'll crack on with some work towards my final thesis proposal. Woo! Don't you just wish that you could be a dog? Like, he's just had the best day at daycare, and now he just gets to sleep. Right, so I've had my dinner and I've had my shower and I'm back at my desk, and I really am just, guys, I'm not in the mood to do this tonight, but I've got to do it because future me will be really pleased that I've done this work. So today I'm working on my final thesis proposal. So we've got feedback from our draft thesis proposal, so I need to add 2,000 more words basically, so the word count is larger for this. Tonight I want to finish off my additions to my introduction. I also need to decide my methodology, so I'm going to be choosing between a focus group design or one-to-one interviews. So I need to decide that tonight and write about it. I also need to decide whether I'm going to include a specific type of experience within the people who are going to be my participants. I also need to think about including staff while recruiting for this study. I really do need to find some motivation because I just cannot be bothered. Like, when I tell you that I didn't sleep very well last night, and you know, I spent a whole day working, so I'm on my reserves right now. It's about 7 o'clock now, I should have mentioned that. So I've had about a 2-hour break, so I have had some chill time, but now I need to crack on because I really want to watch some Top Boy tonight. So I'm hoping that if I get like a solid 2 hours of work done, even an hour and a half, then that is good enough. So let's get going. Oh, okay, let's do this, let's do this. I've done all my work for this evening. I've got loads more to go. I really underestimated how long this bit was going to take me. So I unfortunately will be doing work next week. I didn't think I'd have to, but yeah, that was a day in my life as a trainee clinical psychologist. If you did like this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. And until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.
Feeling good today.